The first 30 chapters of the Shabbat. ללמוד, תלמידים, לא לדבר.
ברשות מעלה דעתה, רב אדמו"ר בשם העלות שליטה, ברשות רבנים נכבדים, כל קהל הקדוש הזה, בני בנות ישראל. We're gathering here today to commemorate, honor, the memory of האדם הגדול והענקי שכל מלכי מזרח ומערב ומלכי רבנן נהנו מזיו תורתו, מי שהאיר פני תבל בתורתו, מי שאור תורתו זורחת לנצח. עטרת ראשנו ועוזנו, עמוד ההוראה בדורנו, שר התורה רבן של ישראל, מורנו ורבנו עובדיה יוסף בן בוז'יה, מנחתו אבן, זכר צדיק וקדוש לברכה, זכותו יגן עלינו. Right after the passing of Maran Zatzal, my son Rav Yisachar, our family, I have to say, I'm a Talmid of Maran for almost 43 years since I'm 15 years old. My family, I educated, Baruch Hashem, especially my boys, Zerachei Torato, Valichotav Shel Maran Zatzal. So my son Rav Yisachar said, we have to make a Siyum HaShas. I said, what is Siyum HaShas? So all these 60 Masechtot, you're going to finish in 30 days, how are you going to do that? It's impossible. Get people to do this? I said, look, it's Flatbush, you have plenty of Siyumim, you have Siyum HaShas, Mishnayot, all over in Israel for sure. Over here, you'll have plenty, don't worry, you'll be Mishtatef. You'll take a Masechet, and you'll be Mishtatef. No. He said, I don't know. He told his brothers, my son Rebechia, other son Rav Ovadia, the other sons, and the Temula Inyan, Riyad. I said, don't worry, what are you rushing? The clock is ticking, it's almost 30 days, you have to, no, they want to do it. Kipsu Adarim La Torah. And they did it. I said, what are you going to do? What's happening? They said, first we need some speakers. We need an English speaker. We know Maran. So we look at each other and said, who better to call than Avalu? Devoted Talmud of the Rav. Masulo, B'chol Yimei Nafsho. So my son, who knows his son Rav Ovadia, said, maybe your father can come to us, you say a few words to bring it to the root. I said, I'm sure he would. I'll ask him. But maybe we could be Mishatef Ula, maybe we could work together. You can supply the people learning the Shas, we'll supply the venue, and we can do something together. He said, Rabba, why not? It's the biggest kavod. Why not? It should be in Ma'ono Shel HaTorah, where the Rav was Tamid Davuk, B'halichotav V'halichotav Shel HaRav, Shel Maran Zatzal. This is how this came about. Gemara says, there's a machloket in Sanhedrin about Yikra D'Shechvei, Yikra D'Chaye. If it's a kavod for the deceased, the hesped is a kavod for the deceased, or it's a kavod for the living. Of course, needless to say, in this case, it's not that Maran Zatzal needs our learning. It's a zchut for us to participate in whatever we learn. My son got so many people, Talmidei Chachamim, Bnei Torah, to learn, even Prakim, Daf Achad, all is Zichro Shel Olam. Needless to say, everything is needless to say here in Maran. It's just that we're here in some way, we have to commemorate it. And the best way, he always said, what is it, always on his mouth, always, and all the shiurim. חידוש גם א', גדול תלמוד שמביא במעשה, כי הם חיינו ברך גבינו. We had asked, my son did some phone calls, and he said, some Rabbanim said, doing tikkunim, ashkavot. That's great, that's the best, that's fun. What about siyumim mishnayot? Siyumim limud. The Rav always said, ללמוד, ללמד, לשמור ולעשות. And who more than him? גאון יוד, גאון בלימוד, גאון בחסד, גאון בזיכוי רבים. ללמוד, ללמד, לשמור ולעשות. That's all he did. That's all he did. All he wanted. So it's the least we can do. But what happened, I don't know, I have to say, I have to talk out of my heart, I'm very surprised. Ira Torah Lakewood, I don't hear anything. I heard some Hespedim. I have to say, it's Busha B'Chelpa for Ramadan. I don't understand it. People are scared to say that he was a Gadol Ador. Whether he was Vigad, we don't have Vigador. Mimadad Busha Alo Mayim En Mayim El Torah. I don't know, but you can't measure. But some people are scared to say, or I don't understand what's going on. I have no idea why people, there was hitrashlut. There was a hitrashlut. It's unbelievable. The least we could do is today or to spread the word who Maran was. People know, but they somehow, I don't know if they're scared, I don't know why they think like this. I have no idea. I have to say this. We only found Rav Aluf in New York State, at least. I'm not familiar all with nationally. I know we asked Rav Daka from Chicago to speak with other close from it. Baruch Hashem, Rav Pinchas Zevichi, he did on today on Amukah. How is this? How is it that it's come about? I have no answer. ויתהלך חנוך את האלוהים ואיננו כי לקח אותו אלוהים. אמנם רש"י פירש בזה דבר אחר. ויתהלך חנוך, who was the Chanoch in our generation? Since he was small, maybe 9 years old, 8 years old, I don't know. Maran Zatzal was Chanoch. We all thought he's going to live forever. He's going to take us to Kat Mashiach Tzidkenu. ויתהלך חנוך. He went with Hashem. Since he was small. Veinenu. Why? It doesn't say Vayamon. He just took it. We have no reason. Amnam shekatuv b'tera an yaseh b'tzadik. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. What is for the door? But we have to go on further. Natati lecha mahalachim ben ha'avdim. We have to continue. But this is the least we can do. בטרם אמרו, ראש השנה בפתח כבר says, שקול מיתת צדיקים כשרפת בית אלוקינו. Past few weeks we heard a lot of this. The death, the passing of tzadikim is like the burning of the Beit HaMikdash. There's a different nuskha, Midrash Echad, that says it's greater than the burning of the Beit HaMikdash. What's the difference? How do you reconcile these two? You could possibly reconcile when the tzaddik passes. Of course, it's like the Beit HaMikdash. He was a beacon of light for the world. Every Talmid Chacham, Al Tikre, Banayich El Bonai. He was Boneh. He was Zereach Or. Every Talmid Chacham. Beit HaMikdash. רבים was נשרף, אבל קדושה במקום, קדושה לשעתה, קדושה לעתיד לבוא. But it doesn't emanate anything every day. It doesn't emanate. There's no לשכת הגזית, there's no Sanhedrin, there's nothing. There's nothing there. There's מסגד. There's nothing there. אבל תלמיד חכם that leads a corpus of literature alone, only for the writings, corpus of literature. That Maran Zatzal wrote, the corpus of which will stay forever, before internet, before Osar Chokmah. Forever it stays. Everybody, all the Rabbanim, Gedolim, Gedolei Hador, take from him. Shu'avim Mayim, B'kol HaSfarim Shelo. Everybody. My son has a list of Shiloh Tshuva that plagiarized pages from him. Plagiarized. He didn't care. Okay, so you learn from me. But some people don't even mention him in this thing. Some people don't even mention him. Gedolim, Rabbanim Gedolim, they don't mention him. Yud Bet Yud Ayin, Bekoshi. I felt that my sons were right. This is the least minimum minimum שיכולים לעשות לזכרו. God says, Shami Shkalim says, אין עושים נפשות לצדיקים, דבריהם הם זכרם. You don't make, it said really matzevot, but it could be it meant sculptures. You don't do all types of sculptures after passing the tzaddik. אלא what? דבריהם הם זכרונם. Their words are memories. And his words will stay on forever. They'll go and say, oh, יצא בכוחת ההתראה. So that's the reason he wasn't any more than any less than anybody else. You have a unique personality. In centuries, your own in writing and in Zikui Rabbi, B'chol Ever Upina, he went to be with Ilan Chumash, he said stories to people. Now, the Rabbanim here knew him personally better than I did, they can tell you. And there will be books and Sfarim on him forever. Forever. When I said, it said, Agura B'olcha Olamim. David HaMelech said, he asked him, he said, I would like to live in your tent forever. But I asked, how is it possible? Is it possible to live and you pass away? It's gone. But of course, if you live on, because you left Tehillim, we say Tehillim every day. Everybody says Tehillim. David HaMelech lives on forever. מה זה או בחיים או בחיים? הוא עושה זה מסר התעני. יעקב אבינו לומד. אם הראה איזה חי ביתי, חמתו חמתי, עשו סרטי. No, he says. מה זה או בחיים או בחיים? Who is that O? We are Zar. And we are Zar O, Marat Zatzar. We are Zar. All those who learn his Torah, will give the Torah. עושים כבוד נשמתו. What is כבוד נשמתו? ללמוד ללמד לשאול לעשות. קביעת לתורה. Whatever is minimum, 4 hours, 2 hours, or 15 minutes, doesn't make a difference. That's what all he wanted. All his life, one gallon of Torah. How about Chaim Yomi? When it says, I said the name of Shimon Yochai, Yochanan said the name of Shimon Yochai. He said, מכאן, אומר שמועה, מפיו, תמיד חכם בעולם הזה, ספרות בקבר, שנאמר, ובין ספרי שני. מה זה mean בעולם הזה? בעולם הזה. It's as if he's learning now. Or we know, במתים חופשי, כיוון שאדם מת, נעשה חופשי מן המצוות. There's no limit to Torah. You finish, whatever you do here, upstairs is gone. No, if you learn, if you say Shema Mipiv, and you mention his name, you say you took it from Yavi Omer, or Yechavada, you say you took it, you say Shema Mipiv, it's as if he learned, and he has Zechut. He has Zechuyot upstairs. And then he's Melitz Yoshem. Yosef Hu HaShamim, Hu HaMelitz B'nenu B'ezrat Hashem. Hu HaMelitz B'nenu, Amenu, Yemelitz Yosher Alenu, B'ezrat Hashem, בזכות זה. כולנו, כולל המשתתפים, צריכים להסכים את השם של
אורי ניגע,
שיכין את האוכל, גם זכות גדולה נפלה בידכם. ברוך השם, כל אלה שמשתתפים בוועדה, כל אלה שתפתו אפילו, לא למדו עכשיו, בעזרת השם ידעו לשנה הבאה. בעזרת השם, יעלה עלינו, יח ממרום, מרן זצ"ל, ישתתף בזה, הוא רואה מה שקורה פה. אחים בהספדה, דהתם כאימנה. One Amara said to another Amara, he said, warm us up with the hesped. We warm up with the hesped because I'm there. There is a simcha today because simcha siyum hashas bavli. We took siyumim. And she said to the Mishnah. Two siyumim. And the siyumim, what does that mean? That the same shas. So השם שניאל, בעזרת השם, מרן זצ"ל, גם נזכור בעדנו. באמת, כולם, לכל הקדוש הזה, כל הקדוש הזה, לכל המשתתפים, לכל המסיימים, יזכו, אורך ימים, שעות חיים, עלו תגופה לעולם עלייה, בעזרת השם, we should be זוכר תמיד, always, to make some שמחות like this to see משס לכבודו, even though it's a שמחה מגולה ותוגה, בעזרת השם, he sees it, and we should always זוכר, ושיר ספקים מהר במהר אמן. I'd like to introduce first, Rabbi Mordechai ושמעון אלוף, to be מסיים בש"ס, and say the Kaddish, and say if you would the ring for it. I'd like to ask Leolan, like I said before, and I would honor Professor Bishri, to say a few words on the Talmidim HaMurakim של מרן זצ"ל, on the greatest תלמידי חכמים מירושלים, מחבר ספרים פשוט עטרת פז ושאר ספרים, to say a few דברי התעוררות לזכרו של מרן.
כבוד הרב הגאון, רב אלוף שליטה, כבוד הרבנים, השם ישמור אותם ויחיה אותם, בעזרת השם ברק, תברכו פילון, כל הטלוויזיה של זה, שתברכו פילון. דבר קטן, שראינו פרשה, אנחנו קוראים כאן בפרשה, אצל לאה, שהיא ילדה את יהודה, כתוב, הפעם עודד השם ותעמוד מלדת. זאת אומרת, אומר לרותנו, למה לאה הפסיקה ללדת? מכיוון שהעניין הזה שהיא הודתה להשם, זה לא מספיק להודות להשם, אלא צריך שתמיד יודה, יבקש גם כן להשם בה. להודות על העבר ולבקש על העתיד. ובאמת, העניין הזה שאדם צריך לבקש על העתיד, באמת אנחנו רואים את זה בגמרא, במסכת, מה שגמרא מספר במסכת קידושין בדף כ"ט עמוד א'. הגמרא מספרת שמה, הגמרא אומר, רב אחא בר אביה, שרצה לבוא ללמוד תורה אצל אביי, עליו השלום, הוא הגיע לשם, לעירו של אביי, אביי אמר, אף אחד שלא ייתן לו לישון. בקיצור הדבר, העניין, הלך שם רב אחא בר אביה, וישב שם בבית המדרש. הגיע שם לבית המדרש, הגיע לשם מזיק גדול, שהיה בר 7 ראשים. רב אחא בר אביה, כל תפילה שהתפלל, הוריד לו ראש. תפילה התפלל, הוריד לו ראש. אך צריך בסופו של דבר, בבוקר השכם, שהגיע שם אביי, אמר לו, תשמע, אתה עשית לנו ניסים. אם לא יקבל לי ניסים, לא הייתי ניצל. באמת שואלים לרבותינו, איך אביי נתן לו ככה לישון בכזה מקום שזה סכנה נפשות היה. אלא מתרץ רבנו מרשה דבר עצום, אומר רבנו מרשה, לא, הנה בלי תפילה באמת אדם אסור לדור במקום שנעשה לו נס. אבל עם תפילה, אדם יכול להתפלל. זאת אומרת, אתם רואים כאן את הכוח של התפילה, עד כמה היא גדולה ועד כמה היא עצומה. שברכום בינו, באמת על המורנו ורבנו הקדושנו, אי אפשר לדבר. הגמרא אומרת, הכיני הספדיי, דת המקאים, מה שאומרים בסדר שבת, דת ק"ג, הגמרא שם אומרת, כן, הכיני הספדיי דת המקאים. זאת אומרת, אנחנו רואים את העניין הזה, תברכו פינו, אמרתי, אבל בכל זאת העניין שאנחנו רואים כאן, שבוודאי, אין צל של ספק, של כל אדם שלמד בלימוד הזה, וכל אדם שילמד בלימוד הזה, בלימוד שאדם לומד לעילוי נשמתו של הרב, בוודאי שהוא זוכה להגיע בעזרת השם לכל הדברים, בכל העניינים, כולם, אמן תברכו פינו, מכל כל, אמן כן יהי רצון.
two people in North America, like I said before, who are the devoted Talmidim of the Rav Aluf. And I have a brother-in-law in Chicago who mentioned I never met him. Rabbi Mordechai Daniel Lakach was a close Talmud of the Rav, and we invited him to say a few words. L'chvod HaMorah.
ברשות אמרת הרב אלוף שליט"א, ברשות הידידי, למדנו יחד בחזון עובדיה לפני שנים רבות, הרב זביחי, ברשות כל הרבנים, ברשות הקהל הקדוש הזה. I recently had to make a calculation that I felt I never would ever have to make. I always thought the Rav would live forever. So I made a calculation, how long did I know the Rav? Not as a figure in the horizon, but a figure that I had a relationship with. The number is 34. 34 years. 34 years I had a merit not simply to know him, to ask him questions, to learn from him, to learn from his writings, to learn from his actions. 34 years of love, of devotion, of awe and appreciation. I can speak about him for weeks. I can speak about him for weeks, not about things that I read, not about things that I heard, but about things that I saw. And I'm conflicted. What am I going to tell you? What am I going to speak to you about? There's so much to say. There's no way. It's like trying to explain what the sun is like in the sky at midday. Should I speak to you about his love of Torah, which permeated his every fiber? Should I talk to you about his genius? Should I speak to you about his encyclopedic knowledge? Should I speak to you about his depth of understanding? His diligence in Torah study? His unfailing ability to identify the root issue of any question? His decisiveness? His clarity in halakha? His effort to find leniency when possible? His drive to answer even the most complicated of questions? His courage in halakha? Fearlessness? His tenacity? His commitment? His loyalty? Should I speak to you about his Yirat Shamayim? Should I speak to you about his exactingness in the performance of mitzvot? Should I speak to you about his love for every Jew? How about his ability to connect to every kind of person? Should I speak to you about his struggles, his own personal struggles to arrive at the level that he arrived? Should I speak to you about his conscientiousness, his kindness, his compassion? Should I speak to you about his surpassing humility, although he was a giant eclipsing all of those around him? Should I speak to you about his profound sense of responsibility? Should I speak to you about his regal comportment, his multifaceted talents, his articulateness and accomplishment as a speaker? How about his amazing ability as a writer? Should I speak to you about his stellar teaching ability to teach one and all? How about his achievement of rekindling Sephardic pride? His revolution and rebirth of Torah ascendance? Should I speak to you about the fact that he returned tens of thousands of people b'tshuva? Should I speak to you about his leadership? How about his vision? His lifetime mission of lahachazir atara le'yoshna, to return the original luster to the crown. His unending effort to have every Jewish child receive a Torah education. And on and on and on. I experienced every one of these and many more. But the one that I feel most personally connected to is the one that I experienced for 34 years. His unfailing commitment to encourage young men to learn and grow. Indeed, the first time I came to see him as a young post-high school boy, I walked into his office in Yerushalayim, and this is what he said to me, quote, "Ata rotze liot karov elai, ve'ani rotze liot karov elecha." You want to be close to me, and I want to be close to you. A little American kid. I want to be close to you. And it wasn't lip service. For the next 34 years, he never wavered from that statement. My friends, something extraordinary has happened. To use a word which is overly used, but truly appropriate, really something historic has happened. We have an obligation to understand it. Because our children are going to ask us, and our grandchildren are going to ask us, weren't you alive then? Didn't you see that? There were 850,000 people at his funeral. I'll make a simple calculation. This doesn't require a lot of math. The Jewish population in Israel in September of 2013, 6,066,000. 850,000 is 14% of the entire Jewish population. 14% of the population attended the Rav's funeral. Now, compare that to the United States. Population of the United States, 316,959,000. 14% of that is 44 plus million. Can you imagine if 44 million people moved in a moment's notice? It's unheard of. It never would happen. It never would happen, no matter what. And remember, children didn't go. Most women stayed home. And you should know more than that. There were 200,000 people in transit because the entire transportation system rapidly, completely shut down. There were 200,000 people waiting for buses that will never come and for trains that would never leave. I can tell you with total knowledge that the police begged the family, they begged them, do not, under any condition, delay the funeral. Not even by an hour or two. They made a simple calculation. If they were delayed 2 hours, people in France, people in Europe would charter planes. And then it wouldn't just be Yerushalayim that would shut down. The entire country would shut down. They begged them. Pikuach nefesh, they said to them. The amazing thing is that these 14% of the Jewish population in the state of Israel moved in 4.5 hours. So you know what happened the next day? The very next day, and I know this with total knowledge, the very next day, the Mishtarat Tnu'ah, the Israeli traffic police, gathered their geniuses. And they said to them, if we ever had to duplicate this again, how would we do it? How can we move 14% of the population? If we had to, how can we do it? I mean, it happened. We saw it yesterday. If we wanted to do it again, what would we need to do? After consulting and thinking and brainstorming, they raised their hands in defeat. They had no idea how it happened. It was inconceivable. It has never happened before, and my friends, it will most likely never happen again. So you'll tell me, okay, what was the big deal? It was the Sephardic faithful. It was our brothers that were there, Sephardic faithful. It's not true. Ashkenazim, Hasidim, Sephardim, it didn't make any difference. They were all there. There was no village, there was no kibbutz, there was no moshav, there was no city that did not have representation. The large religious communities were ghost towns by the population's movement. So you say to me, well, it was a one-time show. But it's not true. The effect was so massive. I'll share with you a story that I heard from Reuven Elbaz. On the last night of the Shiva, I stood in the streets of Yerushalayim with 200,000 people. It was not an easy night. It was very hot. We stood for 4.5 hours, 200,000 of us. And I heard Reuven Elbaz say the following. He said that a young man in his yeshiva came up to him during the Shiva and said, Rebbe, I need to do something for the Rav. My soul is aching. I have to do something for the Rav. What do I do? Tell me something to do. Should I go say the whole Sefer Tehillim by his? What do I do? The Rav looked at this man. He knew this man. This man had come from, he was about Teshuvah, come from a place, from a school, where not only was it secular, but it was the secular of secular. It was so secular that the director of the school would not allow any more than one mezuzah in the entire building. One mezuzah on the front door, that's it. They said the front door's enough, we don't need any more than that. But Reuven Elbaz looked at this fellow and said, you know, every year we send out, around the Yamim Noraim, we send out Avrechim, we send out some of our young men to speak about the high holidays in the non-religious schools. Just to speak about the holidays. And in every single school, our young men are received with warmth and with interest, except one. In this particular school, the non-mezuzah secular school, they are not allowed to walk through the door. Not at all. They're not allowed to walk through the door. And they're told, we are going to teach our children, and you're never going to teach our children. So the Rav looked at this young man and said, you know what I want you to do? I want you to go to your alma mater. I want you to go to this non-mezuzah secular school, and talk to them about the Rav. The guy, I gotta give him credit, he has courage. He went. He gets to the front door and there's a guard outside. The guard sees him and says, Mi ata lama bata? Tavi Taudat Zehut. Who are you? Why are you here? So he said, I came to speak about Maran. As soon as the guard heard that, he said, B'vaksha tikanes, im bata leMaran, b'vaksha. That really got him through the door. Now he has to speak to the director. He walks up to the director, who's actually a woman. She sees him and she goes, oh, so happy you came. This is a change. She says to him, I want you to know, we have dedicated this entire week, Shavua Shel Maran. The entire week is dedicated as a memorial for the Rav, the non-mezuzah secular school. And she produced a pamphlet that they had printed. And Rav Reuven Elmos was reading from it. He was reading from it. I saw it in his hands. He was reading from it. But what did it say? It was a biography of the Rav that if it had been written by a Talmid in Yeshivat Chazon Ovadia, it would have been exactly the same. There were no exaggerations. There were no cutting, biting, acerbic words. It was all true. It was all positive. It was all good. How does a man accomplish that? How do you break barriers that nobody can break? How do you do that? So you tell me that was enough. It stopped after the Shiva, but it's not true. There are continuing strange things that are occurring. Did you know that daily men are making their way to the kever with a minyan to ask for mechila, to ask for forgiveness? People who in the past may have maligned the Rav, spoken ill of him, made demeaning remarks about him, are now coming with a minyan to ask for mechila. Talmidei Chachamim, standing barefoot at the kever of the Rav to ask for mechila, to ask for forgiveness. How does one accomplish this? How does one arrive at this level? So as I mentioned to you, when I stood that last night of the Shiva with 200,000 people, I heard the Klosenberger Rebbe say as follows. He mentioned the Gemara writes, Ein Nevi'im hen, B'nei Nevi'im hen. If they're not themselves prophets, but the Jews have a prophetic aspect about them. I maybe would have mentioned the Gemara Megillah, which says, the Inu lachazu, sometimes if a person doesn't see something with their physical eyes, but their soul can sense it. There was something that happened with the loss of the Rav that touched every Jew everywhere, without any exception. Some people felt it more profoundly, some felt it less, but everybody felt it. What does that mean? What was it about the Rav that made him capable of touching every single person? What was it? So I'm going to just an idea, just a small idea, because as Mr. Huffman and the family who have done such a tremendous job in creating this ma'amad along with the Aluf family, such a tremendous ma'amad, such a tremendous event. As Mr. Huffman mentioned, they'll be writing things about the Rav forever. There's no limit. There's no way to encapsulate that man. He was larger than life. I will use two words, Torat Chesed, and let me explain. When you speak about Torah and the Rav, you're speaking about his very, very life. You've heard the stories. I won't bore you with repeating the same ones you've heard. Maybe I'll try to share a few that you may not have heard. To the Rav, learning was everything. It was the very breath that he took that kept him alive. If you took Torah away from him, there was nothing. He couldn't survive without it. He didn't